Hey, welcome to the stream. Starting off a little late today. Um, I have to actually earn my bucks. Um, and I'll be going back to doing my earning stuff later, but I'm excited to be joining everybody on Twitch today. Just noticing as soon as I start talking, my cat decided to leave. Very wise. So this stream has been fun, and I'm in the middle of doing um, uh, work to learn deeper Kubernetes through my home lab. My home lab consists of physical hardware, where I've got some HP Elite Desk 800 G6s, some network boxes, a router, and I've got an interesting network topology, and I'm running Talos Linux Kubernetes plus Kubernetes on those hosts. And I'm kicking the tires and learning all kinds of things. I have a general goal, which I've discussed on previous ones, where this is basically what I want to do. I have a goal adding new storage to the cluster that's in my basement. That's very exciting stuff. In general, also, I guess, this is Twitch, and I'm not really trying to mimic like a super professional live stream. This is definitely a venue for me to chat about some of my opinions and some of my biases, inclinations, and who can avoid what's happening in the world these days, and who can really avoid the effects of capitalism and imperialism on our world. I've had my own evolution in thinking over many decades, and my general inclinations are that capitalism needs to evolve to its next stage. Capitalism is kind of a pupal stage, a larval stage, before something like communism with socialism as the path. And if you had talked to me 20 years ago, I would never really probably said anything like that. I've flirted with libertarianism, and I've flirted with quote unquote democratic socialism. But those things, they just don't seem to really answer the comprehensive set of problems that we have and provide something that's actually better. So I'm also hoping to do that in a relatively lighthearted way. I don't know if that's possible, but also marry the concepts or the ideas of Marxism, of the things that I understood of Marxism from reading Capital, and technology, because good old Karl talks a lot about, and Engels, absolutely have technology, the ideas around technology, the philosophies around the use of technology, what technology actually means as part of capital, capital accumulation, what it represents in competition between capitalists, and also then why it seems that we always seem to progress in technology, or so we're told, and we don't really see the benefits of it as a planet, as workers. Usually we get laid off, and laid off or fired or whatever. And why is that? Why is that? And why is there so much propaganda around the benefits of technology when it is not used to benefit the majority of people? I think I know my answer, but I'm absolutely interested in discussing with viewers. And as long as you're respectful and you're actually honestly trying to understand things better, happy to engage. Do follow so that you can engage. I think that's the settings I have. I'm new on Twitch. Um, and I think I'm live streaming on YouTube. We'll see if I am. But I am limiting comments to people who follow or subscribe. So please do so. Look forward to your thoughts. Let's dive in a bit and see what we can see. First, let me just attend to. Let's see if we can make YouTube. Is YouTube unlisted? Yeah, let's see if we can make YouTube. Is it listed? Not really sure if you can change this. You can change the privacy on it. Yeah, let's see if we can change the privacy. Why not? And I'm going to go back to the stream, public, and then we're going to unlist it after it is live. That looks good. Okay, great. Cross my fingers that it still works. All right, so how, what should be the first things we do here? I guess I need to catch everybody up a little bit on the cluster. I have not worked on it since the last stream, so it's probably been sitting in a sad error state. But I did have some conversations with one of the leads within Talos Linux, and I think I gave him a pretty bad bug report. I'm hoping I can give him a better one if I'm not able to solve the problem. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Simra in Talos Linux in the project. I think he's the founder. So thank you for responding. My goodness. He indicated that there shouldn't be a problem with what I'm doing, but I didn't give him enough information, which I knew, to really make a firm diagnosis of what's happening on my cluster. So I hope to either give him that or actually walk through what I'm doing to see if there's a step I skipped in adding Cilium, which is the component that was failing, into the cluster, so that it actually, I can add new nodes, add new control plane nodes, without having to reinstall Cilium or uninstall Cilium and reinstall Cilium. It should just apparently, from what he said, it should just work. That's not my experience, but maybe there's something I'm doing that's particularly odd in the configuration, and maybe that's part of the difficulty. Okay, so let's see. Let's think about what I want to do first. I want to okay, that's interesting. I'm going to bring up the agenda now, but something is happening with the settings for my camera. And apparently now I'm frozen. So let's see what's going on there. And ah, alrighty, we're back. More technical issues. Apologies for that. Uh, Apparently, you can just reset your camera with just unplugging and replugging USB and changing ports. Exciting stuff. All right. So let's go to, let's get the browser up. And let's go to the Talos Linux docs. And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to pave over my cluster. And it's really easy to do with the tools I have. And this is a lab, so why not? And let's just see if I can walk through, after I do that, walk through the setup for the cluster, setup for Talos, setup for the cluster, and then setup for Cilium within the cluster, which I think has to happen around the same time. It's can be part of the bootstrap. I'm kind of more interested though in what happens for the day 2 stuff. So if I want to change the role of a particular node and have Cilium survive that, that's the thing that's an unknown for me, is that does Cilium survive after I do this? So it's going to be slow, but hopefully it'll be a little fun. And hopefully folks will, hopefully I will learn from this and you will learn from it too, watching over my shoulder, as it were. So let's see. Let's bring up the Talos Linux docs. Sweet. Alrighty. Let's see about, okay, so in here, I've already done everything that's at the beginning. Like I have the Talos Linux command line installed on my host, my laptop that I'm using to control my hosts. My hosts are physically connected to a switch downstairs in my basement. I have VLANs configured. I have Pixie Boot configured, so I'm actually able to boot via Pixie Boot into an iPixie into the Talos Linux maintenance mode, and from there configure each individual node. So we'll have to decide. Okay, so I also have and just so Talos Linux controller. So I have this installed. I'm not using Homebrew, but I have it installed with sure how did I install it? Let's take a look. So set that up. Let's see how I installed that. So I installed that's right. I have it in a special, so I'm using some funky package management for it, but that is mise en, I don't know French, mise en scene, which should be repos, projects, home cluster. Inside Talos. Okay, and now that I'm in this directory, there's Talos control. So that's I forgot. That's how I installed Talos control with MI. I'm gonna just do an upgrade. Let's just do an upgrade. Why not? There we go. We're gonna get a new Talos control. Fantastic. All right. There it is. So it's running. Fantastic. Look at all that. Look at all those options. Fantastic. Okay, so also within this, I have a local kube config, so I should be able to say get nodes. Oh, gotta reset my context. Let's do that. It's going to be actually config. Oh. Let's see what that is. Get context. Okay, so I need to set one as default. Let's see what. Let's just see, do I need to? Actually, I think. Sorry, it's use context. So I'm actually going to be Leviathan. So that's the name of my cluster. And I'm going to correct that to say use context. There we go. Now let's go back and do get nodes. Okay, so I actually have 4 nodes or 4 machines downstairs that are ready for Talos. So what's interesting though is that when I add those clusters in as new nodes, they don't automatically get Cilium installed. So this is a part of the problem, but I'm asking myself if I should actually just wipe out everything and then start afresh. And I think that's probably the easiest path. Not sure if it's going to be that great a learning experience if I'm hacking away at this problem and not resolving it, and I'm not able to get onto other parts of my home lab demonstrations or get services up that I actually want to try out in my house, that kind of thing, because this is it's going to be kind of a home production lab. Let's say that actually kind of works. Home production lab, and which is not going to be the same as something that I would maintain for other people in terms of redundancy, reliability, scalability, blah blah blah. But I am hoping to have production-like features, like for more for when I'm making production systems for people who are paying me cash or places I'm volunteering. So I think I'm probably going to wipe out this cluster. Now, what I do want to do though is I want to try to do this in a clean way, but I'm not sure about that either. So we're gonna do some discovery there. I don't want to have too much stuff left over. So let's go back to the documentation here and just let me switch back to the browser. So alternative install so wait a minute, hold on a second. I just want to define exactly like what kind of platform that we're going to be working with, and we're not going to be doing any of these other ones. We're doing bare metal. Some of this applies to my cluster. Some of it doesn't. I have a good amount of experience with doing physical networking, physical deployments, and so I might be taking lefts where the documentation says go right. But my hope is that I still stay within the parameters of expected results or expected outcomes from their instructions. So the bootloader here is not something that it's not something we care about. And why is that? That's because we're not gonna, I don't need to be, well, so this is a background on the process. So this is what Talos actually does on the host. So it configures grub and it might have systemd boot. What's interesting is discovering whether or not, which one is going to be chosen. I'm going to guess it's going to be system deboot. It's going to use a unified kernel image. And what is unified about it? That means you have the init a RAM disk, the kernel command line, the kernel binary itself will be all in one binary file. It says that here: kernel, init, ramfs, and kernel command line arguments. And that is really useful because it reduces ambiguity about what context of what environment the kernel is going to have when it boots. Is it going to, you don't have to worry about it matching up with the init fs. You also don't need to worry about if you've passed different command line options on this particular boot of the kernel. It's always going to be the same, except I guess you can pass. You have to be very explicit about passing. No, it's ignored. So you have to upgrade the unified kernel image anytime you want to change external kernel arguments. So that's important to remember, because you may try setting this, because this is available in Talos Linux's schema, but it has no effect. It has no effect. Okay. So grub is basically deprecated. So we're gonna ignore that. We're not doing Equinix Metal. We're not doing an ISO. We're not doing Matchbox. Although I've never used Matchbox. I wonder how fun it is. This is about the network configuration. And the Metal networking configuration. There is some nuance there, and I have battled with that when bringing up the cluster in the first time. But it's not going to be in scope today. Pixie, though, is going to be in scope. So we're booting with Pixie, and maybe we're actually using Matchbox under the hood. Not sure. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually wipe out two of the nodes and change them into control planes. And we're going to add Talos Linux onto that. Excuse me. We're going to add Cilium onto that. Alrighty. So so let's take a look here. This is the strange thing. In theory, this should work. I hate to actually do this and erase everything, because I'm kind of stubborn when it comes to errors like this. I actually want to understand why it didn't work, but I may be getting ahead of myself because it's not something I'm yet familiar enough with that I can make better, like, decent guesses at, like, why, what components are failing. Because to install Cilium, which is a CNI, you need to disable the existing CNI, which the default in Talos is flannel, I believe. And it doesn't matter, like you have to disable the CNI in order to install, which is the container network interface. You have to disable the existing one that comes out of the box and then install Cilium, but that's a very unique configuration of Kubernetes to actually have no CNI, and various things that you might expect to work don't work without a CNI, without a container network interface. And the thing that's frustrating is it says you do not need to bootstrap the new node, regardless of whether you're adding a control plane or worker node. It will now join the cluster in its role, which sounds great. But I know that the control plane YAML doesn't have the information about Cilium, or to disable the existing CNI. Maybe that's just magic that happens, and maybe I'm trying to force things. So maybe I'll give it a try. Why not? Let's do it. So all right, what I need to do is a couple things. There's going to be some housekeeping, and I'm gonna switch the view back to here. And what I'm going to do is so we know the node is okay. Like we have one control plane node and we have one worker node. And I'm going to take the two nodes. So we have cluster 2 and cluster 4. So we have cluster 01, cluster 03. Those two need to be added. So what we're going to do is first we need to set up our environment. And we have here, that I detailed before in previous live streams, we take the wrapper.sh, but we do previous VLAN. That's a funny thing. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. And the reason is because we are booting to what's called an untagged VLAN that has a different IP address than the tagged VLAN, which is what the cluster actually joins after it does a PXE boot. So PXE boot has one subnet, IP subnet, and then the cluster actually lives in a different subnet that's defined by the VLAN that it's joined. So this could be interesting to see how all this fits together. And this could be why that things are not terribly happy. All right, so the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to CD back into the same little trick that I like to do. So let's do xclip. It's I. PWD. Oh, sorry. Do okay, and now CD paste. Okay, great. And in this, and in case you didn't notice, what did I do there? I copied the output of PWD to xclip, which is basically a clipboard manager in X Windows on Linux. And then I used my third mouse button that I use here to to paste it. And I'm not going to do that this time. And a third mouse button is just, take the clipboard and input it into wherever my cursor is. Okay, so I need to that's right. I'm going to do node. Actually, I'm going to do mesh central. Uh-oh. Looks like Mesh Central's dead. So I wonder what I did there. Let's see. Let's do an npm install. Exciting stuff. This is the kind of stuff that I hope is somewhat interesting. Change 2 packages. Okay, let's see. Let's try to run. Maybe it's actually getting confused. It is. Okay, so it's already installed. And I'm going to run on localhost 1024. So let me bring up a browser. And yep, it is a security risk, but I accept it. Alrighty. So these are all of my hosts. I'm using Mesh Central to control my hosts. These nodes, these HP Elites 800 G6s, all have Intel vPro and AMT, which is a management framework so that you can actually remote control. And I use it so that I can actually remote control the virtual screen, or the screen. Actually, it's technically not virtual, but it's the screens of hosts remotely. So what I'm going to do is, let's see what's on the screen of the first host. And looky there, it's actually running. It's actually running Talos already. Now I'm going to actually reboot this host because I want a fresh install of Talos. And that's all I need to do. And it starts Pixie. All right, so I'm going to do Linux network installs, and I'm going to go down to Talos, and it's going to get the latest Talos. And we've got it booting. And notice it's Talos 1.12.1. And let's scroll over. And you can see here it's at stage maintenance. That means it's it's the Talos Linux is basically waiting for configuration files. We see here it got an IP address, it's got a host name, it's a different host name because it's on a different subnet. I have a different subnet for Pixie Boot. And connectivity is okay. So let's do the same for the other host. I'm going to disconnect from that. We're going to go back here. Actually, we're going to go back here. We're going to go to 003. And we're going to connect to that. This is also in maintenance mode, as you can see. This one's on version 1.12.0. So we're going to reboot this. And it should bring us into maintenance, eventually maintenance mode, but with version 1.12.1. Going to do the same thing what we did on the previous server. Alrighty. Okay, great. So now we're up with version 1.12.1 on this host. This will be 03. So you see here, it's 153. So I've tried to keep my network numbers, at least the last digit, the ones place, similar to the host name, or in line with the host name. So we've got 10.177 to 27.153. You'll see in a little bit, which you've seen on previous live streams, that the other network, the cluster dedicated VLAN is 10. I think it's 121. No, sorry, 181.27.153. So it's only the second octet that changes depending on which VLAN you're in, just to make it easier to understand where you are and what might have happened, because a lot of things have had to happen for correctly for that new IP address, as well as new host name. And if it doesn't happen, that tells you something. That tells you something that's useful in figuring out how things went wrong. Okay, so we have this. This is booted up in maintenance mode. So it's waiting for a configuration from me, from my hosts. All right, so the next step is going to be what? It's going to be that we are going to see what we can do to run the config, and just let's do the first thing is naively setting it up. Setting it up so that we just adding the control plane node, and let's see if magic happens. Maybe I was overthinking the problem, which guess what, I do a lot. And let's see if that was the issue. Okay, so let's reset this, and actually let me bring up the browser and terminal. See if we can make this. Just want to make my terminal a little bit What is the best way to do this? I'm going to actually rearrange this a bit. I'm doing a little OBS in the background here, but all right, let's see if this works. Not the best arrangement, but it'll work for now. All right, so in this, so we also, let's also bring up in the browser this. So let's just see if we can run this. I really don't think this is going to work, but hey, maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. Now I am going to have to do something offline here. So let me temporarily transition back to this because I just need to check. So there's some security sensitive stuff that's inside these files. So unfortunately, I haven't figured out a really easy way to ensure that these things are that these things are viewable on a live stream. It's just an unfortunate side effect of how Talos configures things. I would love to be able to figure out a way to make it so that we don't have all of the security stuff inside the control plane file, but I just have yet to, I haven't dived in to figure out like how do I extract that, and so it's in, all the secrets are in a dedicated file. I mean, things are in there is a secrets.yaml file, but I haven't figured out like, okay, now once I have a secrets.yaml file, can I just get rid of the security stuff that's in the control plane and worker node? Does worker? Yeah, worker has a certificate, so it has the cluster certificate. So how do I not have that in how do I not include that in my worker and control plane node definition YAML files? Don't know yet. All right, I think that's enough of. Let me just take a look. Okay, looks like batch 05. Batch 03 is already done. All right, I think I'm gonna need, so I'm gonna, let's bring back, okay, so I think I'm actually gonna just only do the patches that are number 4 and number 5 and ignore the patches 1 through 3, which were about setting things up for Cilium, and let's see if magic happens. So I think all I need to do, I still need to pass insecure, is actually this one, this command in the history, my history, 18550. And I'm gonna just copy pasta this up to here. And then I'm just gonna take 4 and 5. Oh, that's all right. There we go. Oh, 2 config patches. Let's see. Okay, 4 and 5. Let's see. So if magic happens, that will make me very happy. So this is for, let's do control plane 1 first. Why not? And it looks good. Let's actually go back and see what O1 has. Which is this one. And what is it doing? Oh, it's installing. Look at that. Yeah, that's not great in terms of readability, is it? But it is, let's zoom in on the browser. It is installing. Now let's see if it ever gets out of installing. Oh, looks like it added the IP addresses. That's great. So it's in the right VLAN. It's also changed the name of the cluster. It is type of control plane, so it got that information. But let's see, there's something happening here in terms of controller runtime. Now it has been, let's see if we can get a sense for, okay, the controller failed. Error adding root, netlink received, file. File exists. Okay, so this line here, root spec controller, this actually seems to have failed to set the default. I'm guessing because it didn't remove the original. Now, is that something that's going to be repaired? I'm not sure. Now let's see if there's something, so root spec controller, let's see if there's something like in Talos, in either the guide. So these seem interesting. This seems somewhat relevant, but this doesn't say anything though about unsetting. You have to unset the default before you set it. Um, and this is root spec spec. So this is the API definition. No descriptions. So the next thing to do is just let's look into I know this doesn't take, oh, it does. Okay, let's see if there was any kind of, if there's anything about this in the bugs. Nothing. Now there's some closed ones, so maybe somebody else has had the same problem. Ah, this looks interesting because file exists. So that's pretty much the error that I'm getting. So we're not trying to get IPv6 working because this my network is only an IPv4 network. However, that doesn't mean that Talos isn't trying to configure a IPv6 address, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of the problem. Let's see what the logs say for this person. That looks very familiar. File exists, message yet. That looks very familiar. So, no, these don't look quite right. The root priority is duplicate with v4 default root. So there's some kind of fix. A reboot is needed. Talos persistent platform network configure fails to download a new one. You need that to be fixed. Please submit full blah blah blah. But I don't have IPv6, so is there something happening? Is there something, excuse me, is there something I need to do to force the priority to be different? And what is the appropriate priority? All right, let's try what this has. Talos control kit roots. Oh, YAML. Let's, okay. That's kind of interesting. Ah, it rebooted. Or did it? All right, I'm going to actually reboot this. I don't like to do this, but let's give it a shot. Again, this is part of the Mesh Commander stuff, which is just really neat because you can do all kinds of nice. Not sure if this is going to work. Yeah. So we're going to boot from a Linux network install again. This time it usually picks up the configuration. Oh. All right, let's see what's going on here. Why is this? Okay, it's still in maintenance mode, so I'm not sure if this is gonna. This is Pixie 01. All right, let's demonstrate something here. So I'm doing this. I'm getting the roots. So I'm getting JSON. I want to get JSON back, but all I really want to see is I want to see the value of the priority in the spec. And not sure if I can do this that easily, but like I'm always like a little bit rusty or always have to look things up with JQ. But at least like, okay, it parses. So let's see that. Let's do empty group. which should capture them all. And spec. Okay, there's spec. And okay, it looks like there are two with the same priority. And I think that probably means default since it's 1024. So that's going to be interesting. How do you replace a default in Talos Linux? And another question is, why do I need to replace the default? Why doesn't Talos Linux set that? Let's see. So they have a fix for OpenStack. And they just set the priority. They changed it to 248. You know what I really would like to do is actually just disable IPv6. So let's see if we can do that. Let's see if there's something. Don't see anything so far. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Let me share the, let me go back to the browser. This looks maybe interesting. Not sure if that's. All right, you have to disable the Linux kernel. But can you? And it goes to stale. Hmm. This is an even older one. Even more ancient. So these, these get more less relevant to the current code as time passes, and I have a feeling. Yeah, so this is going to be kind of interesting. Does this actually apply to current? Does this apply to current current host? And let's look into docs. I have a feeling. IP6. So there's something about multi-homing. So this should have been configured. Just validate that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this should be fine. But again, I actually would like to just disable IPv6. I don't have DHCP v6 at all. Not exactly what I need. Let's see what we got in discussions. So let's see, IPv6. Let's Let's see if we can disable it. Not seeing anything obvious. Well, that's unfortunate. Now, so one thing maybe I could do is if I need to set the priority of the interface that's created by the VLAN, I can actually move it out of the way. I feel like this is still a hack. Maybe what we could do is actually set the root. Don't know which way you want to pronounce that. The root priority for the VLAN, but I'm not sure if it's part of that schema. So let's see if it mentions something about the. So this is the root metric. Okay, let's see. Perhaps I just need to set the root. So let's give it a shot. Why not? Let's see if we can break my cluster even more. Let's check the time here. All right. So this is what I have so far in this patch. And I'm going to actually update this patch. Let's say route metric. Let's say this 10. Why not? Let's say that's 20. Should be a lower priority, right? Root metric 512. Yeah, let's set the metric. And let's just see, like, so Linux network root metric. Let's see if we can get some information about yeah, let's interpret that. Let's interpret that column. The distance to the target. The cost of a route. Let's see how much this breaks my cluster. And I would just need to check the root metric. So it's that's snake case, camel case. I think that's snake case. No, that's camel case. Okay, we're not going to ignore the host name. All right, let's see if that works. All right, let's add another config patch. And let's give it a try. Oh, doesn't like that. So I guess root metric is not a valid thing. Where do I find the now the thing is where do I find the schema for network interfaces? So under network interfaces, so I wish that we just had a reference for the API. Maybe, is there such a beast? Let's see where, if there's something around VLANs. Let's see if we can just set metric. All right, based on this, let's see if we can just set metric. Still doesn't like that. Oh, All right, I'm getting closer. Hmm. Ah, that's for the destination for the whole thing. I don't want that. This is why I'm using DHCP. All right, let's go network to, so we're going through the API here. Let's find interfaces. Seems to skip interfaces. Well, it's actually not in alphabetical order. Yeah, no. Alrighty. All right, I'm a little bit at a loss here what to do next for that. So I think let's go back to the browser and let's see. I'm sorry, not to the browser. Let me yeah, actually to the browser. And let's see what we see on the host. Why is it adding that is an IP? That's not an IP it should be using. Hmm. Hmm. Ah, is that the problem? I think that's the problem. So, folks, I have in my original control plane.yaml file, I have to find specific addresses. I think this is actually why this is a problem. Let me see if I can Can I share this securely? Kind of. Not really. Okay, I think I can do this. So let me share this and make sure I never press space. Okay, so this is my control plane.yaml. And I think, so I'm defining VLANs with specific addresses. And I'm specifying DHCP. So I think this is messed up. This is messed up. This should not be the way it is. What I have in patch 03, another file I'll show you, is what I really want. And I think I'm the victim of the early hacking I did to actually create the cluster. And this address, like that doesn't make sense. There's no address that's .0. And the roots, why am I defining the roots here when I should just ask DHCP? So I need to make this match what I have in patch 03, so I never do this. Because when I add patch 03, I'm actually adding extra addresses rather than supplanting the existing addresses, which makes sense. So I've made a default route here, and then suddenly I'm trying to make another default route somewhere else, and it's not going to overwrite the default route, and I have to delete and then re-add the default route. I think that's how it works in Linux. So yeah, so I might have actually gotten past this problem. All right, well, so this is a theory, and let's try to bring the theory to a test. And let's try to make this happen. So unfortunately, there's too many security things in this file. I'm only going to be able to show you guys and gals and my trans friends what the result will be after I configure this. After I change this to match what's in patch 03. Because I just don't want to show off by accident as much as I can. Probably have already. I probably need to change all this stuff. The secure keys, the PKI, the private certificates, etc. But I think this is part of the problem. So I need to make this match the patch file, so I never have to deal with this. It's a theory. Let's test it. Okay, so I've quit that. And let's just take a look at what I'm talking about with patch 03. I think it's patch 03. Yeah, I need to make it match this. So, and I think that's all I need to do. Excuse me. So let's do that. I'd love to be able to show you the Vim magic that I do, but I'm not going to show you also my keys. So we're going to go back to this agenda. And while I do these changes, I can then show you what I'm doing. So, all right, so Did I really do that? All right, whatever works. So, sorry, I'm messing a little bit with a Vim here. Let's see. Okay, let's show you where I am. Alrighty, just to show you that this is actually over here. I've added the place that so this now matches what's in patch 03. So hopefully that this will work. So now I'm going to apply it. Let me return my terminal back to the size it was for easy, for better display. There we go. Okay. So I think actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to need to go back to mesh. All right, I need to abort this. Last Lego coffee. I'm doing it for you, my viewers. All right, let's see. So we're going to boot back to maintenance mode. I'm going to add this configuration. Okay, great. We're up. It's maintenance mode. So let's now. Okay, let me not. Yep. All right. So now we're ready to do this to 151. Let me just make sure I verify. Yep, I'm on 151. So and it's insecure at this moment. And I don't really need to do patch 03 anymore. So let's take it out. And what? Oh, I have to upgrade. So fantastic. Okay, now I have to upgrade control plane. So oh. Now I have to upgrade. And to find out what the current kube controller, kube proxy. So 135 for kube proxy. .0. Kube controller manager is 135 also. Kube scheduler is 135, so these are all 135. Kube API server It's 135. The installer. Kubelet 135. All right, let's see if this works. All right. And let's see in the browser what's actually happening on the node. It's rebooting. It's in the cluster. Oh, it might actually have joined the cluster. Did it actually join the cluster? It actually joined the cluster. It actually joined the cluster. Okay, great. And the addresses look sane now. This could have been it. Now the question is, all right, let's do some sanity checking. So now if I do kube control get nodes, I see another control plane, different version. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that, but that's fine. And let's do Cilium status. No way. No way. It actually works. All right, let's do the same thing with 153. Right, because we don't have cluster 03 up. And let's see if magic happens there. Well, first actually, let's see. Let's go back and see the status of 153. Woohoo! All righty. It's in maintenance. It's 12.1. Okay, so it's ready. It's ready to be configured. So let's do it. And just make sure I'm sharing my things right. Yep. Oh, okay. And a bunch of activity started happening. It's installing. It's rebooting. Now so now that I've done this, I will have 3 control plane nodes. And way back to this is where we're actually going to end up. We're actually going to finally get closer, pretty close to this. Probably a few more things I need to do just for housekeeping. And well, I do need to upgrade I want to upgrade and make sure all the components are at the same point. Once the API server and controller manager and scheduler go to healthy, look at that. I am going to want to fix this time Cloudflare. I don't like using Cloudflare for this. I'd rather use just the pool, NTP pools. All right. Alrighty, good stuff. We've got 4 machines in this cluster. And so let's do this again. Let's do a kube control. Do a reset. And let's do a kube control get nodes. Voila. Different versions. Yep, that's not pretty. But they're alive. And let's do Cilium status. And it's alive. It's alive. So let's just do K9S, what the heck? Just because it's fun. We don't have, let's do zoom. We don't have any pods failing. Now we do have flannel running. That's a little sad. Because how do we have flannel running and have Cilium? That's a little weird. Let's do a describe on that. That's a little weird. Not sure I like that. Let's see the logs on this. So you can have flannel and Cilium running at the same time? That seems wrong. But that's why we have a home lab, is so we can figure out why things are so wrong, but also not care. I also thought I disabled kube proxy. That's also weird. Very interesting. Let's check out events. Okay, that's the normal error that we see with kube Prometheus stack the node exporter. But we don't see, I don't think I see anything that seems particularly bad, although now there's flannel. Maybe there's something, so while you are not looking at my stuff, I actually had to restore my control plane.yaml from my Git because I'd actually overwritten it. And perhaps there's something dated in another thing that's dated inside my control plane.yaml file. This is a good reason to use Git for the fact that you can restore things, but you need to also make sure that you keep things up to date so that when you restore things, you don't restore something that's older than you expect. But in any case, this is good news. So what does this mean? This means that the cluster can stay up while I upgrade the storage. Now let's look into 6:37, so my time. So we have a little bit of time left on the live stream. So let me let me see, and let's share how we might upgrade Talos. So look at this, it's all healthy. It's pretty good to see. And also let's just see what we see on the okay, so notice this. So we've got version 1.11.5 and we've got Kubernetes 1.34.2. So we want to upgrade both Talos Linux, which is what that version represents, as well as Kubernetes. So let's look into upgrades. Upgrading Talos Linux. Okay, so okay, so this is important. We already did this. We've already updated Talos control to the current running version of the cluster, so it's 1.12.1. And I think we're going to actually do this Talos control upgrade wait, because I just want to watch what's happening. And well, actually, sorry, not want to watch. I want Talos to I want it to initiate the upgrade, but I also want it to monitor the state of the upgrade. So let's do this. Let's see what happens if I just do this. Oh, it's just doing magic. Okay, this was probably actually not the thing that I should do, because it actually stopped all of the control plane nodes. My hope is that error is because it doesn't want to stop the last control plane node. That would be wise. One thing we're probably going to want to do is have a look at the state of things. So yeah, this is not. Okay, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to do this, I think, for everyone. Let's make sure this comes up. So this is cluster 02. This was the original control plane. It's ready. That's ready. Fantastic. This one should be a worker node. It's ready. It's a worker. Then finally this one, which is actually 3. It's booting. This time is not synced. That's interesting. And it still has the same old error of the root not being applied. So maybe 53 didn't get the update. If that's the case, let's reboot it. All right, this one is also, this is a problematic one. So cluster O3. All right, let's see. Don't think that's going to work. Because, oh, it is. It's resetting. Okay. So what my plan here is I'm going to reboot cluster O3, the control plane node. I'm going to actually rerun control plane.yaml on this host once it goes back into maintenance mode. All right, we have reached maintenance mode, so that's great. So now let's reapply this control plane config and see if magic happens. Just make sure that patch 03, and I'm gonna actually make sure I need to do this in private. I just need to check on control plane.yaml. All right, let's try it. Okay, I've applied it, and let's watch what happens. I still having that trouble? Okay, there was a change that I made that was maybe not the best. Is I think I made an extra change that I shouldn't have made. So let's see. Let's do another reset. There we go. All right, so now let's apply. Again. And okay, so I just applied control plane again, the same command that we've been using. And okay, now it's rebooting. Sees 4 machines. That's much better. Hey, that's looking good. That's looking better. That's looking great. All right, so let's go back to, let's bring the terminal back. Let's bring the terminal back to there we go. And let's do, sorry, let's clear the clutter. Okay, so now, now we have 3 control planes. Let's take a look at the versions here. They're all at Talos version 1.2.12.1. And what we need to do is do the Kubernetes upgrade. So let's go back to upgrades. And let's see about upgrading Kubernetes. So let's just do this. Okay, all members. So this is important. Note that the node's parameter specifies the control plane node to send the API call to, but all members of the cluster will be upgraded. So if we want to be safe, let's do the dry run. So let's do so let's just make sure I'm doing the wrapper, and that gives me, make sure I'm sharing the right screen. That gives me control plane IP. That's great. So now if I think I selected that. Nope, actually that's the wrong one. So let's go back to the browser here. Let's just take this. We'll work with that. And we want to upgrade to the 1.35.0, right? And we want to use control plane IP. And we want to do dry run. We want to see what's going to happen. Great. That's interesting. Core DNS gets some changes, but nothing actually was done. But it did detect that it needs to update. As you see here, 151 doesn't need anything, so it's just empty. But 152 and 154, they do. So that's consistent with what we see in kube control nodes O wide. So let's just let it run. Oh. Because it's going to be updating, right? There we go. So we can see that it's going to all right, it's moving. It's moving. All right, it's still moving. Methodically going through. Hey, let's check. Look at that. Hey, look at that. We got them all upgraded. Fantastic. And we're done. So fantastic. So now I have 3 control planes and I've got 4 nodes. So now it's going to be time to finally, for the next, tune in next week for our exciting conclusion, hopefully, of adding new storage to the Talos Linux cluster in my basement. Good times, good times. So I just want to say, you know, free Palestine from the river to the sea, and let's consider communism and socialism, because this system ain't working. This is not working. We're shooting mothers in the face. We've reached the shooting mothers in the face stage of this society. And I don't think that's very healthy. And it's definitely something to fight against. So see you next week. Thank you. Bye.